Hey kiddos, all right, our next piece. So we're gonna make a 1x2. I'll show you. We're gonna make this little buddy right here. So little 1x2, it's got an arc on top of it, little stair step underneath it. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's a 1x2 stair. We'll call it 1x2 stair step with arc. How about that? All right, so what I did is I threw this together already because we know the width of the base, that's going to be 5/16, and the width of this base is 5/16. Make sure you do not enter just 0.31. It's 5/16, which is 0.3125. And even though it only displays like this, it's going to be more accurate with the fraction. Okay, we know the step up is going to be a vertical 1/8, as will this step up right here, 1/8 there. Okay, for this side over here, I usually use a 3/32. Some of you may like the look of a 1/16 better, be a little bit smaller, but a 3/32 usually works pretty well for us. Okay, now the big question at this point is, what's the arc supposed to look like? Because we can just kind of place and say, that's good right there, but really, is it? You know, how do we know? Obviously, we don't want it to look like that, and we probably don't want it to look like that. But what is that arc supposed to be? So I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to take a line, and from this corner, I'm going to go straight out horizontal. And at this point, I'm going to now add a relation, and I'm going to tell that line and this arc to be tangent to one another. And you'll now see that as the arc is going up, it's going to perfectly transition into whatever the next piece is right next to it. Okay, so we made that tangent, and we're done. We are done with this piece, and we can go ahead and say extrude. And it's going to be a full Lego thickness, which, as always, will be a 5/16. And it's going to look something like that. And it looks pretty good. Okay. Now we need to shell this. And the shell is going to look a little different, probably when you first see it. So we're going to go to shell. We're going to go with a thickness of 1/16. And our faces to remove are going to be this face and this face. But because of the way this part's built, you're going to see it removes a little more here than we wanted. So we'll say OK. And now that piece is hollow. Okay. Now what Lego does, and whether or not you do this, really, I'm not too concerned. But if you want it to be perfect, we can throw a sketch on this face, because a knob needs to fit perfectly right in there, and it needs to wedge in between all the sides. Well, right now this thing's too wide. Okay, so what Lego typically will do is they'll throw a little rectangle right on here, and they're going to make sure the distance from here to here is exactly 3/16, because that's the size of the knob. And then we're probably just going to do something like, I'm just guessing on this. Let's just call that 1/16 from there. And from here to here, let's just call this 1/16 also. And that's going to be our little rectangle. And we're going to go to Features, Extrude. Now, obviously, we want that to go up into it. At this point, if you look for up to next, it's not going to be an option because we're coming out with the extrusion. But if we flip it and we go in with the extrusion, you'll now get an option for up to next. That's going to give it a custom termination into that curved edge in there. And when we hit OK, it's going to give us some error. It says a zero thickness geometry. Basically, there's a tangent in here it can't calculate. So if we come over and we uncheck this merge result, that'll usually tell it to ignore that calculation that it can't handle. And we'll hit OK. And then our little piece will pop in there. Okay. Now your pegs should fit into both of those slots. And that will be, what do we call it? A 1x2 stair step with arc or something like that. All right, there you go.